Okay. So good morning, all of you. Today's my topic is heat and environmental disease. So what is heat and environmental disease? Before going to detail in topic discussion, basic terms you have to know about it, the heat. So this is the extremes of temperature. Heat is controlled by hypothalamus. So hypothalamus having anterior and preoptic neurons of anterior pituitary and postoptic neurons. They having two signals. One signal from peripheral peripheral skins, and another signals from uh, blood bathing systems. So the two signals have communicate with the so maintain thermoregulation. Heat loss by five mechanisms: radiation, conduction, convection, respiration, evaporation, heat conservation. What is normal core body temperature? Usually normal core body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius plus or minus 0.5 degrees Celsius. So in neural environment, normal individuals, uh, basic metabolic rate, metabolic BMR having produce excess heat generation to maintain the core body temperature. The core body temperature can be measured in through rectal temperatures. So the above thermometer is oral thermometer. The below thermometer is rectal thermometer. What is the difference between oral thermometer and rectal thermometer? So oral thermometer having tip is sharp. This rectal thermometer having tip is stubby. So don't use rectal thermometer to oral. So what are the conditions? So to extreme temperature causes high temperatures hyperthermia, low temperatures cause hypothermia. So what is hyperthermia? Hyperthermia is characterized by uncontrolled increase in body temperature that exceeds the body ability to lose heat. So why oral temperature is less than that of the rectal temperature? Because oral temperature having due to breathing some amount of heat loss, so temperature recorded is less than the rectal temperature. So rectal temperature is the most accurate standard method of measurement of the core body temperature. So this is the standard method. So rectal temperature slightly higher than the oral temperature, about 0.54 degrees Celsius. So hypothermia. Hypothermia is, what is hypothermia? Hypothermia, failure of body's normal thermoregulatory mechanisms to produce sufficient heat in cold environment. Core temperature falls below, the temperature falls below 35 degrees Celsius. So what are the protective mechanisms? These are the protective mechanisms to maintain the thermoregulation of the body temperature. So these are the mechanisms: vasoconstriction, shivering, increased metabolisms. So whenever the patient having thermoregulatory point, hypothalamic set point is altered, so neurovasomotor centers activated, so peripheral vasoconstriction occurs. So from skin to blood is shunting to visceral organs. Visceral organs. What is shivering mechanism? Shivering is of two types. There is shivering and non-shivering. Shivering through muscles, it's called shivering. Non-shivering mechanism is liver plays a major role for production of heat in by metabolism. So non-shivering heat production from the liver also contributes to increased core temperature in humans. So generally in adults, behavioral adjustment is just because of behavioral adjustments, putting on more clothing or bleeding, bending help rise to body temperature by decreasing the heat loss. So whenever the heat conservation mechanism plays a role, if heat conservation mechanism fails, then only shivering mechanism activated. What are the hypothermia? Hypothermia is the common. So hypothermia is common in very young children. So why young people are having more prone for hypothermia? Because of they are having lack of ability of behavioral adjustments. What is behavioral adjustment? In adults having behavioral adjustment is there. That is putting on more clothing or bedding, body help to rise body temperature or by decreasing heat loss. So in young children, the body mass ratio is high. Due to this body mass is high, heat loss is more in very young children. So elderly people, hypothyroidism. So in hypothyroid patients, decrease of BMR, basic metabolic. I initially told that. So in healthy individuals, in neural environment, so metabolic rate production is more than to maintain the core body temperature. So that's why hypothermia decrease metabolic rate, Addison's disease, myxedema, stroke, hepatic failure, hypoglycemia, exposure to extreme cold climates. So the in hypoglycemia and hepatic myxedema and Addison's disease, there is a neuroglycopenic effect on the hypothalamus. So the neuroglycopenic in hypothalamus alters the hypothalamic set point, leads to hypothermia. What are the systemic effects of hypothermia? So there is a decreased respiratory drive, decreased oxygen consumption, decreased central and peripheral nerve conduction, decreased GI motility, decreased myocardial repolarization, decreased coagulation cascade. So what are the clinical features? If the core body temperature is less than the range between 30 to 35 degrees, patient having tachypnea, tachycardia, hypertension, and shivering. So impaired coordination. So if the core body temperature is 30 to 35 degrees, shivering is present. If impaired coordination and apathy, a temperature is less than 32 degrees, that range between 28 to 30 degrees, even shivering mechanism. The shivering mechanism is the protective mechanism. I initially told that protective mechanisms are shivering, vasoconstriction, increasing mechanism. These are the protective mechanisms for heat generations. So whenever the temperature falls below 35 degrees, that is range between 32 to 35, shivering protective mechanism roles. If the temperature falls below the below the 32, the range between 28 to 30 degrees, the protective mechanism also fails. That shivering also stops. Patient complaint bradycardia, pupils dilate, reflexes, slow, confusion, and lethargy. Death in hypothermia due to hypothermia is mainly due to the ventricular fibrillations. So don't come in middle. This is disturbance. So wait for some time. లాక్ చేయాలంట మరి పైన చూడు ఒకసారి పోయింది మనకు సెట్ చేయండి వాళ్ళ మధ్యలో వచ్చేస్తారు పైన పారాగ్రాఫ్ కనపట్లేదు వాళ్ళు కానీ కొడితేదేమో అయిపోయింది అంతేనా చేయండి. So what are the clinical features? If the core body temperature is less than 35 degrees, that range between 30 to 35 degrees, patient develops tachypnea, tachycardia, hypertension, and shivering. So impaired coordination, apathy. So I initially told about what is the protective mechanism. If the temperature falls below, that is range between 30 to 35 degrees, shivering mechanism is plays roles. If the temperature falls below 30 to 32, that is 28 to 30 degrees, the protective mechanism also fails. That is shivering stops. I initially told this in previous slide. These are the protective mechanisms. So protective mechanism, vasoconstriction, shivering, increased metabolism. Whenever the hypothalamic set point is altered, neurovasomotor centers are activated. So the peripheral skin, from periphery to blood shunting into the visceral organs. Whenever the visceral is shifting, the shivering has two types. That is shivering from muscles and non-shivering due to liver metabolism. So a temperature is 28 to 30 degrees, shivering stops. The patient bradycardia, pupils dilate, reflexes slow, confusion and lethargy. So patient having cause of death is hypothermia is mainly due to the ventricular fibrillations. So treatment, airway, breathing, circulation. So maintain ABC. So initially to achieve the target is mean arterial pressure maintain at least 60 mm of Hg to achieve the target. So initiation of rewarming. Rewarming are two types. What is passive rewarming and active rewarming? Passive rewarming is rewarming the patient having a insinuate or warm up with blankets in humidified air. So active rewarming. Active rewarming is those who having organ compromise, hypotension, cardiovascular compromises. These are active rewarming. Active extracorporeal rewarming. Active extracorporeal rewarming are different types. If we initially have to do the patient having an infusion of crystalloids and air rewarming and hemodialysis, those who having the patients having metabolic electrolyte disturbances and lactic gastosis, DKA, like the patients have using the hemodialysis. So extracorporeal rewarmings are the CVV, so continuous venovenous, continuous arteriovenous, hemodialysis, continuous cardiac pulmonary bypass, extra active rewarming. So in hypothermia patient, avoid IV drugs because most of the organs having compromised, so blood circulation is minimized. So to avoid the uh, drugs. So if we have given the patient only to the interval between the doses should be administered. For example, digoxin, insulin. So these are the toxic drugs. So should be given cautiously in hypothermia patients because these are the accumulation in the concentration during rewarming. These are the toxic drugs. So if the patient having hypotension, you use crystalloids or IV fluids. If does not respond to IV fluids or crystalloids, low dose or dopamine, or if the severe cardiac vascular compromise, IV nitroglycerin should be given. So monitoring vitals, cardiac rhythm, blood sugar, treat hypoxia, treat fluid and electrolyte imbalance, control arrhythmias. What is hypothermia of the extremities? These are the frostnip, chilblains, trench foot, French bite. This cold induced injuries to the extremities, that is frostnip, chilblain, trench foot, and frostbite ranges from mild to severe. Cold exposure of the extremities produce immediate localized vasoconstriction followed by general vasoconstriction. So, so when the skin temperature falls below 25 degrees, tissue demand of oxygen is greater than that what is supplied by the slow circulation. The area becomes cyanotic. So 15 degrees Celsius. So if it is temperature falls below 25 degrees Celsius, tissue demand of oxygen is greater than that of the supplied. So the tissue becomes cyanotic. So hypothermia of the extremities. So frost nip, chilblains, trench feet, French bite. So cold-induced injuries to extremities, frost nip, chilblain, trench foot, and frostbite range from mild to severe. Cold exposure of the extremities produce immediate localized vasoconstriction followed by the generalized vasoconstriction. When the skin temperature falls below 25 degrees Celsius, tissue demand for oxygen is greater than what is supplied by the slow circulation. So this leads to area becomes cyanotic. If the temperature falls below 15 degrees Celsius due to marked reduction in tissue metabolism and oxyhemoglobin dissociation. So tissue damage may result from ischemia, intravascular thrombosis, endothelial damage, or by actual freezing. Freezing, that is frostbite may occur when the skin temperature drops. Frostbite occurs when the temperature falls below drops -4 degrees to 10 degrees Celsius. So what is frost nip? Frost nip is a mild temporary form of cold-induced injury. The involved areas has local paresthesias that completely resolves with passive external rewarming. So chilblains are erythema perino, are inflammatory skin changes caused by exposure to cold without actual freezing of the tissues. So frost nip, the skin lesions, these skin lesions may red or purple papular lesions which are painful with burning or paresthesias. What is trench foot? Trench foot is another word called immersion foot, is caused by prolonged immersion in cool or cold water, usually less than 10 degrees Celsius. So the exposed parts having cold anesthesia of the affected areas follows the hot sensation, intense burning, and shoot pains. Part becomes pale or cyanotic with diminished pulsations due to vasospasms, blistering, swellings, redness, ecchymosis, hemorrhages, necrosis, peripheral nerve injury, or gangrene. What is frostbite? Frostbite is injury tissue freezing from and formation of ice crystals in the tissue, particularly at the extremities. So the tissues become anesthetized. Tissue is universally pale or duffy to touch. So later becomes hard and intense to pain. Gangrene may form. Rewarming in water. Rewarming in water. So there are rewarming types are two types: passive rewarming and active rewarming. Passive rewarming is rewarming. Those mild patients who having passive rewarming, so usually they can insulation of the patient with blankets and others. So active extracorporeal rewarming is the active rewarming. Those who having the organ compromised conditions like cardiovascular compromises. So those you use for airway rewarming, crystalline infusion for hypotension correction. If the hypotension is not corrected, so use dopamine. If severe cardiovascular compromises, IV nitroglycerin is given. So the target main rewarming is to secure the mean arterial pressure at least 60 mm of Hg. So protect the injured tissues, avoid infections, vasodilators. Calcium channel blockers are given the for vasodilators. Prevent the vasoconstrictions. So surgical treatment may require to remove the dead tissues. These are the frostbite slide. So image showing the frostbite fingers. Then is heat syncope. Heat syncope or sudden loss of collapse may result in unconscious. This is mainly due to the excessive volume depletion and cutaneous volation with consequent systemic and cerebral hypotension. This is mainly due to the heat history of prolonged vigorous physical activity or prolonged standing in hot and humid environment. So patient have typically Skin is cool, moist, pulse is weak, and systolic blood is low. Treatment is patient is in recumbent position, immediate volume resuscitation. These are the heat cramps. Heat cramps is characterized by painful muscle cramps, so the painful skeletal muscles contraction following by the vigorous exercises in hot waters. So in the heat cramps, there is no alteration in the core body temperature. But in the heat syncope and heat exhaustion, there is a core temperature alteration. But in heat cramps, there is no core temperature increase. So the patient is alert with normal vitals due to extracellular sodium depletion, following electrolytes loss due to persistent sweating, respond mainly due to the salt water replacement. So heat exhaustion. So what is heat exhaustion? So heat exhaustion occurs when core temperature increases between 35 degrees to 45 degrees Celsius following vigorous physical activity in hot environment and humidity. It is characterized by dehydration, sodium depletion, increased pulse and moist skin, nausea, vomiting, malacia, myalgias, hyperventilation, thirst and weakness. So CNS symptoms, headache, dizziness, anxiety, paresthesia. Treatment, remove the patient from hot environment, cold sponging, fluid replacement saline or isotonic glucose saline. So heat stroke. Heat stroke. Heat stroke is a life-threatening medical emergency. There are two types of stroke: non-exertional heat stroke and heat exertional stroke. So non-exertional heat stroke usually they are young adults and elderly people. The non-exertional stroke is mainly due to the heat waves, heat wave, humidity waves. Whereas so exertional heat stroke or the stroke, they are mainly due to the vigorous physical activity or long duration of exposure of exercise during extremely humid temperature conditions. These are the exertional heat stroke or there are two types, exertional heat stroke or non-exertional heat stroke. Non-exertional heat stroke mainly due to the exposure mainly due to the humid waves, whereas exertional heat stroke is mainly due to the in extreme temperate climates, vigorous exercises in the extreme humidity. These are the exertional heat stroke. Non-exertional heat usually in very young adults and elderly people, those who have to expose to the normal humid waves. So in heat stroke there is a loss of heat regulatory mechanism. So what is heat regulatory? Heat regulatory mechanism. Heat is mainly controlled by the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus having preoptic anterior hypothalamus and prohypothalamus. They have two signals. They receive from two signals: the periphery and thermal bathing. So periphery from skin exposure to cold or hot. They receive signals from periphery, cold or hot. And another is uh, thermal bathing. So whenever the alteration between the two signals, hypothalamic set point is altered. So the protective mechanism. What are the protective mechanisms? Heat regulation, shivering, vasoconstriction, basic metabolic rate. So in normal individuals, the basic metabolic rate is heat production is exceeds that the exists to maintain the core body temperature. What is core body temperature? The core body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius, 0.5 plus or minus. So core body temperature is measured by rectal thermometer. Why rectal thermometer? Rectal thermometer is the most accurate and most standard method to measure the rectal thermometer. So the variation between rectal thermometer and oral thermometer is rectal temperature is higher than that of the oral temperature. About 0.4 degrees Celsius is higher, the rectal temperature is higher than the oral temperature. Why oral temperature is less than the rectal temperature? Oral temperature because of heat loss through breathing. So rectal temperatures are mainly useful for in major oral surgeries, uncooperated patients, in seizure patients, to monitor the rectal temperatures. Don't do rectal temperature monitoring in immunocompromised, neutropenic immunocompromised patients. Don't do rectal temperature monitoring. These are the contraindications of the rectal temperature. What are the? These are the signs of the heat stroke. What are the signs of heat stroke? Skin will become hot, no sweating, dehydration, hyperventilation. So what is the treatment? Treatment aimed rapidly reducing the core temperature while supporting circulatory and organ functions to prevent irreversible tissue damage and death. So oral intravenous fluid administration, cold sponging, metabolic abnormalities and cardiac arrhythmias should be treated. So hyperthermia. Hyperthermia is characterized by uncontrolled increased body temperature that exceeds the body ability to release it. So what are the hyperthermias? Hyperthermias are malignant hyperthermia, neuroleptic malignant hyperthermia, drug-induced hyperthermia. What are the drugs that cause hyperthermia? Drugs like phenothiazines, succinylcholine, halothane, antipsychotic drugs, tricyclic antidepressant, monoamine inhibitors. These are the drug-induced hyperthermia. What is malignant hyperthermia? What is neuroleptic hyperthermia? Malignant hyperthermia due to inborn metabolism of the sarcoplasmic reticulum muscles of the skeletal muscles. So inborn metabolism of the skeletal muscles sarcoplasm. To the inborn metabolism of the sarcoplasmic skeletal muscles increase the intracellular calcium. Whenever the drugs like giving the anesthetic drugs like halothane and succinylcholine, this is the malignant hyperthermia. Drug hyperthermia, malignant hyperthermia, neuroleptic malignant hyperthermia. Neuroleptic malignant hyperthermia due to long duration of exposure of psychotic drugs like tricyclic antidepressants, monoamine inhibitors, and drugs like phenothiazines and antiparkinson. These are the neuroleptic hyperthermias. So heat stroke is a life-threatening medical emergency. There are two types of heat strokes. One is exertional heat stroke and non-exertional heat stroke due to exertional due to vigorous exercise in ambient humid environment, exposure to ambient humid environment. Whereas non-exertional heat usually in young adults and elderly people due to humid waves. This is non-exertional heat stroke. So drowning describes submersion resulting asphyxia and death. So falling inhalation of water. So whenever the falling inhalation of water, ventilation perfusion mismatch leads to hypoxemia, leads to pulmonary edema. So absorption of large amount of water fluid leads to hemolysis. What is near drowning? Near drowning describes submersion even leading to injury. Submersion injury may result in aspiration, maybe due to laryngospasm, hypoxemia, and acidemia. So what is wet drowning or what is dry drowning? Wet drowning is due to aspiration of fluid or foreign material, whereas dry drowning is due to laryngospasm or airway obstruction. For near drowning, the first near drowning, the requirement of basic life support and CPR. Patient must also be assessed for hypothermia. So if a patient having hypothermia, to, to give the passive external corporal therapy, rewarming or active extracorporeal. Passive rewarming therapy to insulate the body with cloths. Active extracorporeal rewarming, hemodialysis, crystalline infusion, airway rewarming, continuous venous therapy, or continuous bypass, or hemodialysis patient, hemodialysis and rhabdomyolysis, hemodialysis, peritoneal dialysis and hemodialysis. Peritoneal dialysis and hemodialysis useful to those having the electrolyte abnormalities, those who have toxin exposures, those who having rhabdomyolysis patient, these patients useful for hemodialysis and peritoneal hypoglycemia correction, concurrent injuries and medical condition. What are the clinical manifestations? Clinical manifestations are hypoxemia, pulmonary edema, and hypoventilation. So what are the symptom signs? Anxiety, dyspnea, cough, wheezing, cyanosis, chest pain, dysarrhythmia, hypertension, vomiting, diarrhea, headache, altered level of consciousness, neurological deficit, apnea, hypothermia. So what are the laboratory? ABG, PAVT is usually decreased, PCOT may increase, pH is decreased. Blood sugar must be checked rapidly to evaluate the kidney function, electrolyte disturbances, urine analysis, blood count, coagulation studies. So treatment, first aid, immediate CPR, ventilation, oxygenation, and circulatory support. Hypothermia is to correct hypothermia and treat and associated traumas. So patient must be assessed for hypoglycemia, metabolic acidosis, and concurrent medical conditions. So rescue should not be attempt to drain water from the victim lungs. To done Helmich maneuver should be used only if foreign material air obstruction is suspected. So oxygen should be administered immediately at the highest available concentration. Oxygen saturation should be maintained at 90% or higher. So endotracheal intubation, giving bronchodilators like calcium channel blockers, antibiotics. Hypotension is treated with vasopressors, vasopressor dopamine given to correct hypotension. So pulmonary edema, diuretics, metabolic acidosis by proper ventilation oxygen. Hypothermia is corrected by same. I have already told that passive rewarming and active rewarming. Passive rewarming due to patient exposure to humid air conditions and insulating or covering the body with cloths. For active rewarming is the hemodialysis, peritoneal dialysis, crystallite infusion, like that. So what are the complications? The complications are the dehydration, hypotension, hemoptysis, pulmonary infections, arrhythmias, and ARDS. These are the complications. So what is cold water immersion? Death results due to the sudden cardiac arrest, muscle stiffness due to cold water, hypothermia, loss of consciousness, further water inhalation. So disorders related to altitude. High altitude illness. As altitude increases, there is a decrease in both barometric pressure and oxygen partial pressure, leading to hypoxemia. So hypoxemia patient usually in high altitudes, there some amount of acclimation occurs due to physiological responses to the rise in altitude and increasing hypoxia. What are the biochemical alterations in the high altitudes? Acclimation to hypoxia at high altitude results in increase in erythropoiesis, hemoconcentration, and hypertension. These are the blood chemical changes in the during high altitude patients. So these are patients having exposure to physiologically they having polycythemia vera. So increase erythropoiesis, hemoconcentration, or hyperventilations. Physiological changes include alveolar ventilation, oxygen extraction by the tissue, and increased hemoglobin level and oxygen binding. So those who are having high altitudes having high increased hemoglobin levels. So these are the physiological adaptation of the high altitudes. So physiologically, the patient having CBC having polycythemia vera. So ascent to altitude up to 2,500 meters or travel in a pressurized aircraft or cabin is harmless to healthy people. If the, so what is the measure? What is the distance is 2,500 meters in healthy individuals. If it is travel or pressurized aircraft, it is usually harmless. If the patient have traveling about 2,500 meters high altitude, illness may occur in previously healthy people, and above 3,500 meters, this become more common. So acute mountain sickness. So characterized by neurological and pulmonary symptoms. Characterized by headache, dizziness, fatigue. So facial pallor, dyspnea and cyanosis. Later vertigo, tinnitus. These are visual disturbances. So occur in 6 to 24 hours. These are only for those who are having susceptible, some are accommodation. Those are having aircraft shells. This is acute mountain sickness. So symptoms are like the vertigo, tinnitus, visual disturbances. What is the medical management? Rest, analgesics, and estozolamide acts by inhibiting the Esdolamide acts by inhibiting the carbonic anhydrase enzyme, causing metabolic disturbances and thus increasing the ventilations. So prevention is mainly due to the slow ascent and accommodation is the prevention. High altitude cerebellum. So extension of CNS symptoms of acute mountain sickness. The high altitude cerebellum usually occurs in that above greater than 3,500 meters. The patient having loss of the acclimatization. So patient having exhibit altered consciousness and ataxic gait, confusion, behavioral changes, hallucination, seizures, followed by obtundation and coma. Medical management, immediate descent of the patient. So high oxygen therapy, steroids like dexamethasone and diuretics, mannitol. So high altitude pulmonary. High altitude pulmonary edema is a serious complication of hypoxemia induced pulmonary hypertension. The hallmark is markedly elevated pulmonary artery pressure followed by pulmonary edema. It usually occurs at the levels of about 3,000 meters. So early symptoms may appear within 6 to 36 hours after arrival at high altitude area. So this includes persistent dry cough, shortness of breath, headache, fatigue, dyspnea at rest, and chest tightness. So patient later have developed wheezing, orthopnea, hemoptysis may occur as a pulmonary edema worsens. What are the physical findings of the high altitude? So physical findings includes like tachycardia, mild fever, tachypnea, cyanosis, prolonged respiration on rails and bronchi in the basal line. So the patient may become confused or comatose. What is the treatment? So the patient must rest in semi-floor position, head raised, and the administration of 100% oxygen must be administered. Immediate dysentery is essential. So calcium channel blockers and nifedipine to reduce the pulmonary arterial pressure. So these are the radiation nurses. So what is radiation exposure? Mainly depends upon the radiation exposure, mainly depends upon the source of the exposure, type, duration, and susceptibility and accumulation of the exposure of the persons. So radiation mainly depends upon the duration, source, type, bodily, and susceptibility and accumulation of the exposure. So radiation exposure, nowadays the radiation exposure having exposure is commonly because of medical diagnostic imaging has dramatically risen over the past few decades. So the medical imaging radiation dosing needs to be standardized and regulated in order to minimize necessary radiation exposure. So the nowadays having more of investigations, the patient have more exposure to radiations. So we have to minimize the radiation exposure. Medical imaging radiation dosing needs to be standardized and regulated in order to prevent minimum exposure to the patient. So radiation, there are two types. That is non-ionizing radiation or ionizing radiation. So non-ionizing radiation. So in non-ionizing radiation, it is a low energy resulting injuries related to local thermal damage, that is microwave, ultraviolet wave, visible light, and radio wave. These are the non-ionizing radiation. Non-ionizing radiation is a low energy waves resulting injuries to the local thermal damage. Local thermal, that is microwave, ultraviolet ray, visible light, and radio waves. Whereas ionizing radiation, these are high energy radiation causing disruption of the cell membranes, mutations, and DNA damage. What are the ionizing radiation? Ionizing radiation is either electromagnetic, that is X-ray rays and gamma rays, or particulates. Ionizing radiation are two types: electromagnetic or particulating. Electromagnetic, that is X-rays and gamma rays. Particulate like alpha particles, beta particles, neutrons, and protons. So non-ionizing radiation, ionizing radiation. So non-ionizing radiation have low energy, ionizing radiation have high energy. The ionizing radiation or non-ionizing radiation based on the exposure, duration, surface exposure, patient susceptibility and accumulation quantity of the radiation exposure. So ionizing radiation high energy, non-ionizing have low energy radiations. So the energy absorbed by unit mass of the tissue is the radiation dose. How much the amount of the radiation dose is? The amount of energy absorbed by unit mass of the tissue. That calculated by the, so effective dose to cause damage to a particular tissue is measured by civets. This is the measuring methods we have measured in the civets. So the energy absorbed by unit mass of tissue is the radiation dose. It is measured in civets. So this is measured by gamma rays and useful by access to high dose exposure. So effect depends upon the dose and the tissue penetration. So how do we measure it? Is measured by through gamma rays. In the scale is tissue measured in civets. So radiation exposure results in early and delayed effects. What are the early effects? What are the delayed effects? So early effects. So involve damage of the rapidly dividing cells like mucosa, skin, and bone marrow. This may be manifested as a nausea, vomiting, decreased lymphocyte counts over hours to days after exposure. So delayed effects. What are the delayed effects of the radiation exposure? These are the complication of the delayed effects. So reduction in the abnormalities, malignancy, reproduction abnormalities, liver, kidney, so liver malignancies, kidney malignancies, and central nervous system, so and immune system dysfunctions. These are the delayed manifestations. So clinical findings, injury to superficial cells. So acute radiation exposure to skin and mucous membrane may cause erythema or destruction of the fingernails. So whereas chronic exposure includes skin covering, atrophy, xerostomia, radiation effects on the eyes, includes cataracts, dry eye syndrome, and retinopathy. These are the chronic damage radiation exposures. So injury to superficial structures, acute radiation exposure and chronic damage. Chronic damage Atrophy, xerostomia, drying of the eyes. So radiation affects in the or drying of the mouth. There is no saliva, xerostomia. So drying of the mouth. So atrophy, xerostomia. Xerostomia is mainly due to the drying of the saliva. So mouth. So radiation effects on the eyes includes cataracts, dry eye syndrome, and retinopathy. So injury to deep structures. That is, what are the injuries of deep structures? Internal organs. So hematopoietic stem cell radiation causes injuries to bone marrow that may vary from transient decrease to complete destruction of the blood elements. So hematopoietic effects consisting of the anemia, thrombocythemia, and bone marrow suppression. So bone marrow failure is the main cause of the death within the first few months of the following exposure to the radiation. So nervous system. What are the complications involving the radiation exposure involvement of the nervous system? So nervous system structures are sensitive to radiation. So the brain and spinal cord are much more sensitive than the peripheral nerves. So brain and spinal cord are the more sensitive when compared to the peripheral nerves. So cardiovascular system affects in ionizing radiation. Ionizing radiation results in damage of the heart and coronary arteries. So what are the delayed effects? Delayed effects from radiation includes obliterative endarteritis, coronary artery disease, pericarditis with effusion or constrictive pericarditis. So pulmonary system cause pneumonitis or pulmonary fibrosis. So what are the gastrointestinal systems? The stomach and colon are the gastrointestinal organs most at risk of cancers. So symptoms like odonophagia, anorexia, nausea, vomiting, mucositis, mucosal edema, these are the gastrointestinal symptoms. Out of the gastrointestinal system, stomach and colon are the gastrointestinal organs most at risk of cancer. So urinogenital system. Urinogenital system affects infertility, radiation exposure, mainly infertility. So endocrine systems, organs relatively, mainly endocrine, thyroid gland is the endocrine gland, highest risk of cancer. In gastrointestinal system, stomach and colon, in endocrine system, mainly thyroid is the highest risk to exposure to radiation leads to cancer. In the urogenital system, infertility is the most common. What is systemic reactions? Acute radiation syndrome. So the acute radiation syndrome is due to an exposure to high doses of ionizing radiation. Ionizing radiation, because ionizing radiation is high energy radiation. Non-ionizing radiation is low energy radiation, whereas ionizing radiation is high energy radiation. So the exposure of high energy radiation, acute radiation syndrome is due to an exposure of high dose ionizing radiation over a brief time course. The symptoms onset is within hours to days depending upon the dose. Symptoms like acute symptoms like anorexia, nausea, vomiting, weakness, exhaustion, or lethargy. So dehydration, anemia, and infection may follow. So what is treatment? Treatment is focused on first we have the decontamination, symptomatic relief, supportive care, psychological support, adequate hydration. With the patient having bone marrow suppression, bone marrow transplantation, use chelating agents. So thank you. So what about the learn a bit heat? Heat is there. So first having basic points is thermoregulation. So heat is under control by the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus having two signals: preoptic anterior hypothalamus and posterior. One signal from periphery and one signals from central bathing. So whenever the alteration in the two signals, their hypothalamic set point is altered, the protective mechanism plays a role. What are the protective mechanisms? So thermoregulation, basic metabolic rate, vasoconstriction, shivering. So if shivering only heat conservation does not play a role, then only shivering mechanisms activate. So whenever the hypothalamic set point is altered, that is neurovasomotor centers activated, peripheral vasoconstriction occur from blood periphery to shunting into the vital organs. So then heat conservation is occur. If the heat conservation fails, shivering mechanism plays. There are two types. Shivering is shivering from muscles and non-shivering from the liver is the non-shivering mechanism. So non-shivering, liver generate metabolisms, so produce heat generations. So what take up is hyperthermia. Hyperthermia are two types. Hyperthermia is malignant hyperthermia, drug-induced hyperthermia, neurolytic hyperthermia. Drug-induced hyperthermia, drugs like monoamine oxidase inhibitors, tricyclic antidepressants, succinylcholine, halothane. Malignant hyperthermia. Malignant hyperthermia is hyperthermia, inborn metabolism errors in the skeletal muscle sarcoplasm. This leads to increase in the intracellular calcium levels. Whenever the drugs giving succinylcholine, halothane drugs like neuroleptic malignant syndromes are the syndromes those who having the patient having drugs like monoamine, tricyclic antidepressants, neuroleptins, monoamine inhibitors, phenothiazines like drugs. So heat in hyperthermia or heat hyperpyrexia. So what is the difference between heat hyperpyrexia, heat hyperthermia? So in hyperthermia, there is no role of pyogens for production of heat. So in hyperthermia, exogenous exposure and endogenous production. Whereas in heat hyperpyrexia, the heat hyperpyrexia is a pyrexia. The temperature is more than 106 degrees point Celsius, 106.7 degrees Celsius, called as a heat hyperpyrexia. So heat hyperpyrexia, the mechanism is severely pyrogens have main role. So pyrogens having the cause of the heat hyperpyrexia. But in hyperthermia, there is no pyrogens role. So in heat hyperthermia having exogenous exposure to heat and endogenous productions. Whereas in heat hyperpyrexia, there's pyrogens having the main role. So what heat hyperpyrexia? Heat hyperpyrexia is the temperature is 106 degrees Celsius per 7 greater than 106. Usually the conditions like severe infections and CNS hemorrhages. In CNS hemorrhage and severe infection, the temperature is usually greater than about 106 degrees 0.7 Celsius. This is called heat hyperpyrexia. Heat hyperpyrexia. That is, don't confuse hyperthermia and heat hyperpyrexia. So in heat hyperpyrexia, pyrogens having the mechanism. So in hyperthermia, there is no role of pyrogens. What is pyrogens? Pyrogens having the metabolic toxins, stimulate the macrophage monosis, leading to stimulation of the release of the prostaglandin PGE2. So PGE2 cyclic AMP, this will act on the hypothalamus regulatory center, so leading to pyrexia. But in hyperthermia, only exogenous exposure to heat and endogenous heat production. This is the difference between heat hyperpyrexia. In heat hyperpyrexia, the temperature is usually greater than 106 degrees Celsius 7, where that is the difference. So main you have to take home as is body heat is controlled by hypothalamus. Hypothalamus having hypothalamic set point and thermoregulatory mechanisms to produce heat generation. What is heat generation? Through shivering, metabolic rate, vasoconstriction. Vasoconstrictions have, whenever hypothalamus set point is altered, neurovasomotor centers activated. So vasoconstriction in the peripherals, that is like skin, shunting of blood to the visceral organs. So then heat conservation. If heat conservation fails, shivering mechanism is there. So why in infants having more prone for hypothermia? Because high body mass index ratio in children and lack of behavioral ability, behavioral changes. But in adults having behavioral changes. What is behavioral ability in adults? Because behavioral ability is clothing the wearing the wooden cloths to prevent the heat loss. So increase the rise of temperature by woolen cloths, but lack of mechanism of the ability of the children having more prone for hypothermia. So the standard measurement of core temperature is rectal thermometer. This is the standard method of monitoring the rectal temperature. So the rectal thermometer don't use in the oral temperature. So those thermometers have different. So rectal thermometer having short and stubby tip, whereas oral thermometer having long tip. So don't use rectal thermometer to oral. So the basic mechanism is mainly hypothalamic set point and heat regulations. heat regulation mechanisms. These are the mechanisms. In what in neuroleptic malignant hyperthermia, the treatment is dantrolene sodium. Dantrolene sodium is giving the neuroleptic malignant hyperthermias. So thank you.